Okay, so you put the oranges in a large pan, like a jelly pan, full of water. So you put a plate on top of them, and then you put a Lucchese lid or something equally heavy on top of the plate, like that. And that keeps the oranges under the water. See, the water's just there. Okay, 3 hours later. Obviously, I've kept an eye on the water to make sure it doesn't boil dry. You've got your oranges and they're cooked. That knife goes in dead easy. You take a bit of peel and crush it with your fingers like that, then they're cooked. So we take them all out of the water now. Okay, right, now we've moved kitchens because obviously that's what we do when we're making marmalade. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut them in half like this. See?
Mind your hand.
And this is all unusable. This is all just pith and seed. So just scoop it out like it's boiled egg and chuck it in that, because you need the pith and the seed.
For the pectin.
For the pectin. Well done, glamorous assistant. Now you put that on the cooker and you take a pint or so of the water that the oranges were cooked in, and you stick it in there and you switch that on and you leave that to come to a boil. And while your stuff's cooking, while your pectin is being drawn out of all your stuff, you just take these and you can pile them up if you like. It's quite easy. And a nice really sharp knife, and just cut it into very thin strips. Well, as thin or as thick as you like, really. Okay.
It's always delicious.
Okay, well, let's make some chunkier marmalade. It's easier. So there you go. So that's your peel cut up into chunks. Okay, so now we've got all the chopped up peel in here. Do you see? And we're adding the sugar. Now it looks like far too much sugar, but it isn't. We're going to add about half a pint of the liquid that they cooked in, but you don't have to be too exact. And that's the pot full of pulp and seeds and all that sort of thing. It's bubbling away. Now by now it'll have bubbled through so that the water will have caught all the pectin off the seeds and the pulp stuff. So we're going to pass it through a sieve here to get shot of all the solid stuff and only get the liquid stuff.
So that's a colander, isn't it?
This is a colander because Flick hasn't got the sort of sieve that I would usually use because we're not in our own house, but usually I would just use a metal sieve. But what I'll do this time, because we're using a colander and some of the smaller bits might get through, is I'll pass it through the colander and then I'll pass it through that sieve.
But it doesn't matter if it's a bit cloudy.
No, you're not entering it for competitions. If people go, oh, it's too cloudy, just punch them in the face and tell them to go and buy their own marmalade. That's what I do.
Well,
so as you can see, this is sort of losing most of its water and it's getting drier. Because what you're doing is, all this stuff here is your pectin that's coming out. And this is what sets your jam. So once it gets fairly sort of stiff like that.
Looks like sort of mashed sweet.
Yeah, you've probably got as much pectin out as you're going to get out. And that'll do.
Very tiny sieve.
It is. But it'll get there in the end.
I feel a sense of scale is important.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So now we've got this pan with the chopped up oranges and the stuff that you've sort of effectively washed off the pith and the seeds and added it, and the sugar, the 3 kilograms of sugar. And what you do is, I'm turning my heat down here, you put it on a moderate heat and you keep it moving until you can't hear the sugar anymore. All the sugar needs to be dissolved. But if you, don't know if you can hear it. You can hear it scraping when the sugar isn't dissolved.
Subtle crepitus, isn't it?
Yes, subtle crepitus. Well done,
Yeah.
Ruti.
Okay.
So we put that on a moderate heat and we let the sugar dissolve. And we just scrape this down off the edges because it's nice and neat and tidy. Now it's useful to have a jam pan if you're making anything more than a very small amount. If you haven't got a jam pan, my mum's one's at Graham's, I think, because it gives you the big surface area so that you can get your heat up quickly and the liquid dissolved. It's not vitally important how much liquid you've put in it. Probably in total, with the bit I added when I put the oranges in and the bit I put into the pith and the pips, probably in total there's about 3/4 of a litre to a litre of water in there with everything. But it doesn't really matter, because if you put too much water in, it will just take much longer to set while the water boils off. So another quite important thing to do is to stir it gently and slowly. That's it, you're just keeping it moving.
Move along
Lovely.
there, nothing to see.
And it's important you have some prosecco while making jam, marmalade, while making marmalade. Cheers! Oh, sorry, glamorous wife. Ooh.
Oh,
So
no,
it's
I'm
a
not
bit
really
close.
that glamorous.
You are glamorous, shut your face. Right, I'll punch you.
All right, that's enough of me. Look, focus. This is what Christian wants to see.
Yes, so you
Okay.
see how, now listen,
Don't drop it in
you
there.
have to stir while I'm doing this. There's no scrapey noise anymore. I don't know whether you could hear the scrapey noise in the first place, because the sugar is pretty much dissolved, and what you can see here, you can't, oh, can you see it? You can't see any sugar, but to be honest with you, you can tend to hear or feel it more than you see it. So the sugar's all dissolved, so you can let it come up to a boil. So now that we've got all of the sugar dissolved, and it's completely dissolved, you can't hear or feel any of it when you stir it. I've whacked the heat up a bit, not too much, but just a bit, and we're going to bring it to a boil. And while we're waiting for it to boil, we have to have some more prosecco. Yeah, that's it. And some salty snacks that our friend just happened to have. Jack friend, hello Lulu. Meerkat. Meerkat. Good girl. Oh, they've all come now. They've all turned up. They think there's treats. Right, the other thing is you put your jars in the oven, you see. You wash your jars, and you can actually use them straight out, oh bugger, straight out the dishwasher if you want to. But you want to make sure they're completely dry. So I put them in the oven on at about 100, and the jar lids underneath. And that just makes sure everything's completely dry. How are we doing in here? Well look, we're starting to get a boil. Yeah, it's all happening in here. Okay, this has now come to what is known as a rolling boil. And that's the sort of boil you want with jam or marmalade. It's really hot, don't splash it or let anybody in the way, it sticks, you know that. And when you're testing whether it's ready or not, you hold your spoon up like that, you see? And you see how everything's dripping off the spoon? And it's quite thick. And when it holds a drip completely, when it holds its last drip and its last drip doesn't fall off, it's probably ready. And it's not quite ready. You can use a thermometer, but I forgot to bring mine. If you're using a thermometer, it's got to be 104 degrees centigrade. So my glamorous assistant is eating cheese. And she's not got any prosecco in her glass.
But you have some in yours.
Well, I've got already, this is my
Okay.
second. So more prosecco for the glamorous assistant. The marmalade's still bubbling. We're about 10 minutes in here. I've put some plates in the freezer so we can do the sort of traditional plate test. And look how, oh, help if I point the camera at it, look how viscous it's getting now. See, it's getting thicker and stickier and more viscous, and it's holding its drips. Now Gwyneth likes a very soft set marmalade, but this marmalade is for me, because this marmalade
So I
has
can
got,
go and buy my own.
this marmalade's got great big chunks in it, see? great big fluff chunks, because I like big chunks of peel in my marmalade. It's not to everyone's taste, but we've already done 3.5 kilos of other stuff. So yeah, I'm going to boil it a little bit longer. See, still rolling boil, doing well. It's a nice pan. Bought this pan for Flick for her 50th birthday. I failed to teach her how to make marmalade, but I'm using it today. It's handy thing to do. Okay, almost forgot to video the important bit. Gwyneth, give me that plate.
Okay.
Right, okay, so what I did was I put it on a plate, right, and it's a cold plate, and you see when you push it, it gets wrinkly. I don't know if you can see how it gets wrinkly on a cold plate. I put the plate in the freezer, that means it's set. And the other thing that means it's set, if you're, before you actually start wrinkling on plates, is if you watch the drip, the last drip will hold. It's holding, that one will go, and then those ones will stay. That one will go. See that last drip? That drip will just hang there for ages. So the marmalade's ready. So I've turned it off, and I'll just give it a nice stir once it's turned off, because it can keep cooking. So stir it occasionally while it's cooking so it doesn't stick. Some people say you shouldn't, but hey, who cares? So we're going to leave it to sit there for 10 minutes or so, because it cools down a bit, and then it holds the peel. If you pot it when it's really, really hot, the peel will float. And we've got jars in the oven, sitting at about 110 degrees in the oven. Magnificent. I've turned the oven off. But anyway, we've got hot jars and hot lids, so we're going to put it in the jars. Here we have the marmalade, much cooler now because it's been sitting for 10 minutes. Now the reason I am doing it in this somewhat laborious way is because it saves you dripping marmalade all over your kitchen.
Or Flick's kitchen.
Or Flick's kitchen. And we have a marmalade funnel because we're quite spoiled. Or a jam funnel. And we fill up our jars to just about the top. Move back a wee bit. Let's do that again. So a little bit more in there. You don't want too much of an air space, as you'll all know. The more air you've got, the more likely you are for it to go mouldy. But if we get a good seal, that's not really an issue, and it's rarely an issue. Apart from with rhubarb and ginger, which always goes mouldy, so you have to keep it in the fridge once you open it. So there we go. Oops, that's a bit full.
You often overfill them, you know.
Yeah, I know. But I do my best, and I am quite drunk now. So there we go. Whoops. There.
Stop.
Stop there. That's it. And this one.
Stop now.
No, that's the, see, it's bigger there. See. Yeah. Shut your face. And
do you want to video this yourself?
let's shut your face. God, I can't get the staff these days. So yeah, if you see the top of the jam funnel here is the top of the jar, obviously, because that's where it's sitting.
Your perspective on this to show that sometimes it's a bit.
And that one doesn't fit, so we'll put it on there. So there we go. I mean, my mum and dad would have like lifted the jam pan and poured out of the jam pan, but I'm far too drunk for that. And I've got a sore neck, so we do it with jugs.
Oh.
No, it needs a little bit more. See, it needs that much. Oops, that's a bit much. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's foreign, you know. She's from Ireland. Bagora. Now, you don't have to make your peel this chunky. I just have a bit of an obsession with chunky peel because I like it. There we go. And here we have it. La, la, la. Oops, whoops, oh, it's going everywhere. Oh well, it went everywhere, never mind. Let's get rid of that.
Not on the floor. Shall I stop?
Get rid of that. Yeah, you can stop now. I'm just going to pour the rest of this into here.
Hey.
Okay, so then you put the lids on. I've put all the lids on. You just twist them on, and hopefully what you'll hear after a little while is you hear them going pop as all the lids go pop. Some of them won't, some of them will, but you're not going to make enough that it's going to like matter, because it's going to keep for ages anyway.
And Alison said you've got a medical degree, so you'll be able to work this out.
Yeah,
and
you'll be able to work out how to put the lid on, we hope.
Yeah.
Her husband's an engineer, is he not? Oh, no, he's a surveyor. Anyway, whatever. Logan will know.
Shall I just press this now?
Yeah.
Toodaloo.